Podcaster, you're gonna have to deal with bad reviews all the time. The thing is that nobody's gonna like you. I mean, not everybody will like you. That's for sure. You're a human. You are not perfect. So you have to really think about how to deal with bad podcast reviews. You have to really develop some kind of thick skin going forward. Okay, and I want to really give you a few hacks, a few tips into this conversation, so that you can really have a clear idea how to deal with bad podcast reviews. So here are my observations. First thing first, dealing with bad reviews actually it's an important process if you are going to be a long-term podcaster. As a matter of fact, even if you are a side podcaster, like you are doing podcasting as a side gig, you still going to have bad reviews all the time. I mean, those show that you're all listening to right now. Of course, you're going to have good reviews and bad reviews. That's part of the whole conversation. That's part of the whole equation here. Okay, so when it comes to dealing with bad reviews, you have to think about turning a negative into a positive. In other words, you have to really ask yourself: Is the criticism really worth it? Is the criticism really objective? In other words, when somebody is actually when somebody leaves a bad review on your podcast, is the review really justified, or do you just have somebody who's just hitting, like if somebody who's just walking around and really distilling bad reviews or negativity, right? So you got to really ask yourself, and it's all about really looking at what the person just said. If the review is about your podcast, about the quality of the audio, about the quality of the content, about the quality of the guest, about the quality of the niche you're in, or let's say your merch strategy, your monetization strategy, you got to really think about what the criticism really is to see why this person left such a bad review. Now, why do people give bad reviews in the first place? Well, in my experience, people leave bad reviews for two reasons. They either want to offer a critique or they want to be cruel. Those that really critique your show are doing you a favor when you think about it. They are pointing out areas for improvement. So see past the slide and learn the lessons. But you also have to accept that from time to time, the bad reviews will just be cruel and spiteful with no logical reason given. So it's just one of those things. Again, as I said, you're not perfect, and you are going to find people who are not perfect either. So let me give you the strategy here. When you think about dealing with bad podcast reviews, first you want to really respond. Responding is really good because you are actually offering your side of the story, right? That's number one. You are basically when it comes to responding to a bad review, please you want to take the time to articulate your response. Be very polite, be very precise, and be very direct. The whole thing is, don't think that everybody who's leaving a bad review is out there to get you or whatever, to get your ass or whatever. Okay, no. Some people are really concerned about the quality of the content they are actually consuming, and they are offering reviews. So you want to respond. So the response that you have to leave has to be really thoughtful. Please, if you are pissed, if you are really pissed, if you just read the reviews, and if you read a review and you're really pissed, take the time to breathe a little bit. Maybe you can just leave the platform and come after 30 minutes or 45 minutes or even one day for that matter. And actually, you want to construct a well thought out response. Be very articulate. Okay. So a response allows you to actually show that you also care about the fact that somebody actually took out of their time to leave you a review. That's important. So that's actually you returning the favor by being polite, by being precise, and by being direct. Okay. So this is important. Now, a response is also good because it allows you to show your true self to all your other viewers, because there are some viewers who actually come and they just read reviews. Same thing for this very video that you are watching right now. I mean, there are some people who would just come just to read the reviews. They don't care about the content itself. They don't care about the topic itself. They just want to read the reviews. I mean, that's what it is, okay? But the thing is, you have to really cater to all those listeners, because this shows that you are listening to your audience. If the bad review has no merit or appears personal in nature, you can report an individual review to the platform it was published on and request its removal if you can't remove it yourself. On Apple Podcasts, for example, the reasons for doing so will fall under one of the following categories. For instance, you can have this review contains offensive content. This review is not a review or is off topic. I disagree with this review, and my concern is not listed here. Okay, and the thing is that I will only recommend that options 1 and 2 you choose that, and because those are valid reasons for going down this route. The thing is, when somebody publishes something, don't really take it. Don't make it too dramatic, really. Okay, if the review is published on your website, you can of course respond more directly to the person that left the comment. Keep it civil, okay? Keep it civil. I wouldn't use the comments to get into a war of words, but having a dialogue to better understand their issue could help you make improvements to your show. Remember, as a podcaster, you are a business person. You're a businessman or a businesswoman. So keep it very civil here. So when somebody leaves you a bad review, besides responding, you can also ignore the review. Okay, I mean, the thing is that ignoring it is kind of cool also because it really preserves your energy level, especially when you think about your podcast as a long-term strategy. Then you do not want to really waste energy, waste time, waste resources on short-term concerns. Now the thing is, it depends on what the review is all about. If the review really quote unquote attacks the integrity of your show, and you cannot really delete the review, then you have to respond, because now responding means that you actually accept with the foundation, with the construct of the review, and that's really bad because it really adds an extra layer of credibility. I mean, it really removes an extra layer of credibility from your show, from your podcasting show. And it's one of those things where it's like public relations. Okay, public relations, if you don't respond, then you are giving the other party actually the benefit of the doubt, as people are thinking that, oh, this person must be right, because if he or she didn't respond, there must be an element of truth to the whole thing. So you can ignore, but you have to really make sure that you ignore comments that really are worth ignoring. Okay, in cases where the review is either difficult to comprehend or is of a personal nature, the best approach is to ignore them. Move on. Nothing to see here. Don't waste your time trying to draw deeper meaning where none exists. Brush yourself down and get on with the job of creating another great show. Remember, podcasting is a long-term marathon. This is not a sprint. The third thing you can do here is to learn. Identify the negative reviews that you can learn from. Be honest with yourself, right? Read the review with an open mind. Does their review have merit? Because the whole thing is, nobody is perfect. I've told you this before, including myself, who is talking to you. Nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect, right? So you always have the opportunity to learn from someone else. Okay, so you want to pull out the lessons that you can learn and start applying them to your show. Remember, bad reviews can generally help make your show better, especially when you think of it in the long run. Now, when you think about how to deal with bad reviews, bad podcast reviews, you have to really understand that there is a certain reality that you have to grapple with. Sooner or later, when you start your podcast, if you are a neophyte podcaster, you are going to deal with that reality. Even if you are an established podcaster, you still need to deal with that reality. The reality here is that this is a classic good news, bad news situation. First, the bad news. It's highly unlikely that you will receive some negative reviews. Okay, if you are a podcaster and somebody tells you that you're not going to have any negative reviews because your audience is so polished, your audience is so polite, blah 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 blah, that person is lying to your ass. Okay, no matter how polite, quote unquote polite, no matter how civil your audience is, every now and then somebody's going to drop a little bomb, a little negativity. Okay, you have to expect that. We live on this earth, and nobody is perfect. Okay, and nobody will like you either. I mean, not everybody will like you. Think of it that way. So it's just the nature of the world we live in. Podcasts, just like music and films, are hugely personal in nature. Some people will just not like your show. It is what it is. Okay, you have to accept it. I'm really insisting on that because I want you to really develop thick skin. Same thing that I'm speaking to you right now. This show, not everybody will like it, and that's fine, because the content is not for everybody. Okay, the content is for a specific audience, and that's all I care about. So that's actually the bad news part. But here's the good news. You want to work on producing a great show. And what will happen is that your positive reviews will far outweigh the negative ones. And that's what you want. That's what you care about, right? Making sure that you have more positivity than negativity. That way, you can actually come out on top in the long run. And that's what you care about. And if you care about actually improving your show every single, sorry about this. If you care about improving your show every single day, you will come out on top all the time. Let me give you a few tactical tips here. When you think about dealing with bad podcast reviews, it's important to really have a strategy, and the strategy is going to help you in the long run, especially when it comes to professionally responding to some of that criticism. Okay, let me first talk to you about tips to get more reviews in the first place, because when you have bad podcast reviews, if the proportion is only minimal, then you don't care. But when the proportion is actually significant, that's when you have a problem, right? Let's say you have like 5% of your reviews are negative. That's fine. That's acceptable. But if 50% or 75% of your podcast reviews are negative, then we have a problem. Okay, so actually getting reviews, be they good or bad, can be tricky. In most cases, reviews don't happen automatically. You have to ask for them, because nobody really thinks about, after listening to your show, to drop a review automatically. No, you have to really you have to solicit that kind of criticism or that kind of feedback. The feedback can be positive or negative. Okay, so you want to ask your listeners to actually drop a review. So ask those reviews in your show. Ask for them in your show. At the end of your show, let your audience know that it's important to actually have reviews, and it's also you want to really specify to your audience how important reviews are to you. Make it clear that you are asking for an honest review and constructive feedback. So if you are honest, what will happen is that you always will have people who will be always happy to help you out. Okay, they will be able to work with you, to give you constructive feedback, and to always make sure that you are actually improving your game all the time. The second thing is you can ask for those reviews in your show notes. I mean, the show notes are an important real estate in your podcast journey. Also, when it comes to showcasing the quality of your content, but also engaging with your audience. Okay, so replicate the message in your show notes and include a direct link to your show within places like Apple Podcast or even Podchaser. Make it as easy as possible for your listeners to leave a review. So that's kind of cool, because it's going to help you in the long run establish a certain foundation. Also, if you are trying to let's say get more reviews to your podcast this year, you might want to really start asking for those reviews in emails. Okay, now asking in emails means that you have already established a certain email list. If you don't, you might want to start that now, because if you're a podcaster, whether you are going to monetize your email list or not, it's always good to have a certain, to be able to engage with your audience outside the platform where you are actually engaging with them right now. And this platform can be a podcast directory or your website, but it's always good to have this sort of email conduit. Okay, so if you have a regular, weekly, monthly, etc. email that you send out to your audience, make sure you have a standard section that reminds your audience of how important reviews are to you. The thing is, if you do not explain to your audience how important reviews are to you, they're not going to take it seriously. Folks will actually start taking it seriously if they realize how significant, how preeminent those reviews, that kind of feedback is to you. Okay, you can also rate reviews on your podcast. So this is really important. So reading out a review of your show can really help, because it demonstrates how important those reviews are to you. And you can also use the process to encourage others to do the same, especially when you read out on your show very thoughtful, very elaborated, very specific feedback. Because the whole thing is, you do not want to take the time to start reading like a negative feedback on your own show. That's crazy, right? You do not want to really cannibalize your own show. That would be really crazy. So don't do that. You always want to read. You can read positive reviews, or you can do a mixture. You can do a mixture of positive reviews, or but also neutral reviews. In other words, not good, not bad, but at least a review that's really objective. So that's kind of cool. So if you were to go the route of reading reviews on your show, you want to go either positive or neutral. That way, you want to give a chance to your audience to react. But never read negative reviews on your show unless you are going to make a point. You are trying to make a point, but it's not a the best strategy to actually follow anyway. If you want to get more reviews this year for your podcast, you can also run a competition. And the cool thing about competition is that your audience will feel engaged, and people love competition, especially when you have this. If you are able to gamify the whole review thing. If you do not understand what gamification means for a podcaster, let me know in the comment section, and I'll explain to you further. Or one of my team members will get back to you and explain to you what gamification really means. But the thing is, when you run a competition, for instance, you can encourage reviews by running a competition. For example, everyone that submits a review will automatically be entered into a prize draw for a book or even a digital prize. Okay, it's low cost and can actually produce great results, especially over time. So when you think about let's say dealing with bad podcast review this year, it's important to understand that you do not want to make drastic decisions based on a single negative review. Okay, but if a pattern, let's say a pattern emerges and many people are saying the same thing, it's probably a good indicator of a change you really should be making, right? So if you think about first of all, when somebody leaves a review, always thank them. You have to be really thankful that they're taking their time to actually leave you a review, leave you criticism. So, but don't let 1 out of 100 reviews or 1 out of 1,000 reviews change your strategy. But if let's say 90%, 40%, 20% of your reviews are actually pointing to a certain fact, then you want to really take action. Ensure that you have balance though. You want to celebrate the good reviews and keep a personal bank of the reviews that have meant the most to you. Dip into those when you have a bad review and remind yourself of just how well you are doing. Because remember, you're not perfect, but you are great. I want to end on that. You're not perfect, but you are fantastic. And the podcasting world needs people like you because you are adding value to your specific niche. And that's all you should care about. And as long as you keep going and keep going, in the end, you're going to realize that you have added more value to this universe than the sporadic bad reviews that you have received. And that's all you have to care about, because this podcasting journey being a marathon, you are going to have bad days, but as long as you have more good days than bad days, you are really on the right path. So how do you deal with bad in closing arguments? I just spoke to you about how to deal with bad podcast reviews, okay? And I give you my observations, the strategy, and also the tactical tips to really follow this year. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.